Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, folks, the NXT TakeOver Phoenix prediction show, and I'm not alone because I don't do these prediction shows alone. For the 70 millionth time, I don't know how many times we've done this, I have Danny, CDannyMac, of the Undisputed Future Podcast. How you doing, Danny?
Hi, Warren. Hi, YouTube. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me again. NXT TakeOver prediction, it's natural to collaborate with you at this point, my friend. It's fun. Thank you for anybody checking out there. Special shout out to anybody who happens to already be listening to me, because I just put out my first episode of 2019 just a couple moments ago. A succinct version of the road to NXT TakeOver Phoenix, and let's get started. Let's talk these incredible matchups.
Just before we do get started, Danny, just to make sure like everyone is down with who you are. Because, it's been, takeovers happen every 2-3 months. It's been a while. Refresh everyone's memory. What the hell do you do?
We got the big four pay-per-views. I like to, and this is very ideally and like to at this point, because I am trying to balance all that adult stuff that nobody likes to talk about, and a podcast at the moment. But I am the longest-running, self-produced, independently produced NXT podcast available, and with not the best internet connection at the moment, but at podcast_UF, you can follow the Twitter. I do enjoy live tweeting any just general wrestling opinions, not just NXT coverage, but NXT week to week. I just put out a summary to the Road to NXT TakeOver, so if you want to listen to that between now and when the show actually airs, you'll get my predictions here, but a short, succinct summary you can listen to on your ride to work, or just whenever. I like to keep my shows short, and I like to give you guys as conveniently as I possibly can.
All right, I think you broke up a bit there at the end, Danny, but yeah, for some reason the audio's gone a little wonky.
It's going a little wonky. I'm not impressed.
Well, listen,
it's not ideal. It's not ideal. But my point is, thank you for listening to me. If you have, thank you for checking it out right now. Thank you for having me.
Not right now. Like don't check out his don't check out his podcast right now. I mean, stick around for the stream. I'm kidding, Danny, but of course, guys, go and subscribe. Danny does good work. I'm glad you finally put out your first podcast of the year, man. That's really something. It's cool. It's very cool. And I want to thank everyone who's with us in the live chat tonight over on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. We've got some familiar faces that hang out here that, you sort of wonder if they just sleep around like a bunch of squatters and then wake up whenever they hear my voice. Hawkeye, Amizi, and Kristen Ashley of editor-in-chief of Diva Dirt, who's here as well. Yeah. What's that?
I like Diva Dirt. Shout out to Diva Dirt again.
Definitely shout out to Diva Dirt. Shout out to everything Diva Dirt does. Kristen's fantastic. She loves women's wrestling. She wants to get it over, and that is cool. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow, Saturday at some point on Fightful.com. Will be released the second episode of her women's only wrestling podcast called The Division. But, all this talk about podcasts, if you're watching this live, I appreciate it, and thank you so very much. But if the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is also available in podcast format now, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, it's all there. You can go check it out and subscribe there as well. That is fantastic. I want to say hello to Kevin, who just jumped in as well. Kevin, another guy that hangs around and that. I think they hang around because I think eventually everyone feels like I'm going to start feeding them. Like they're a bunch of strays.
Their Canadian kindness cannot be overlooked.
No, it has nothing to do with kindness. All right. Hey, listen, Danny, we TakeOver. The last time we spoke was at War Games. We've had a couple of weeks to build up to TakeOver Phoenix. First time that a TakeOver happens in Arizona. How do you? Let's talk about the build-up. How do you feel this has gone on so far?
Yeah, TakeOver Phoenix, definitely a new location is always nice. Kind of goes along with the first time in Philadelphia, just about a year ago today. How strong is that drink?
No, like it was yesterday. It was yesterday's water. Like I have identical mugs. See, and this one had, this is the fresh. It's all water, by the way, because I don't drink when I do this.
I got you.
This is the fresh one. It's fuller, and this one. So I just reached over to pull this one up to my lips, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! This was a terrible anecdote." Go ahead, Danny. Tell us more about your stuff.
Out of a mason jar. That's something I do want to put out there to the general audience. But something that we do need to discuss is, yes, since War Games, where was I going on? TakeOver Philadelphia, new location last year to the year almost, and TakeOver Phoenix, another new location for NXT to flat out take over. And it's going to kick off in a major way, and I'm using a very strike-heavy pun because, Warren, the first match we need to discuss is a seemingly ongoing rivalry between William Regal's fancy new toy, as his opponent puts it, and the King of Bros, Matt Riddle, versus Cassius Oh No. The bro versus the oh no. It's a rhymers trying to be as clever as you possibly can in your headlines dream. Great rivalry. Hard-hitting matchups. Despite how fast that first one was, all the false hope of getting along afterwards, all of the torment and the Shinsuke Nakamura-esque low blows by Cassius Ohno in this process, I think this rivalry is heat up. I think we're definitely going to get a solid match, assuming this one starts off TakeOver like the last one did, and hopefully be a little bit longer this time.
Oh, well, I mean, Triple H earlier this week on the media call that he always does pre-takeovers said that Riddle and Ono were going to get time this week. But then again, at the last media call, he said that, the 2 out of 3 falls match, needs a lot of time. That's why they only put 4 matches on the card, right? But then we still got a surprise match. So, Triple H, he's still a wrestler at heart. He likes to hustle. He likes to stretch the truth a little bit. So maybe he's still a little bit full of bullshit. We'll see. But he did say that they were going to get time this time around. And I think it's important because, honestly, the pairing Riddle and Ono together, at least for Riddle's first real feud in NXT, was the smartest thing they could have done because they do have very similar strong styles, and that's really, really important for them both to be able to land the big hits and take the big hits as well. Like, you need a solid guy like Ono who can absorb damage. It was a bit of a sponge,
It's going to be a believable fight and the high impact, and that's important in any NXT enjoyable matchup. We're going to be getting the chops. We're going to be getting some red chest generated by roundhouse kicks. In this one, we're going to see a lot of strike heavy, but the big difference here, Warren, is that submission history against the flat out strength and what seems to be ruthless cunning by Cassius Ohno. Cassius Ohno taking a little bit of loopholes in his more recent NXT matchups, and a little bit of backhanded fist bump compliments to the King of Bros that we saw him, unfortunately with an injury, unable to accompany his friend Keith Lee to the ring, and we saw how all that managed to end.
No, but Danny, you follow me on Twitter. I've been calling the Cassius Ohno heel turn for months.
The Cassius Ohno heel turn and most despisable merch are 2 of my favorite things you do on
Thank you. And there's another reason I also think, and I agree with you. You're absolutely right. And there's another reason why I think this pairing was really, really good. Ono comes from MMA background. He comes from the indie circuit, and a lot of reason, a lot of the reason why some of these indie stars go through the PC is to transition from a very high octane, spot heavy style into something more transitional into the WWE style, right? Not saying that the WWE style is boring, just saying it's different.
Right. You have an emphasis more on telling the story of these two gentlemen rather than watching them beat the hell out of each other, which is going to come along with this, but it's going to be a different style match.
Now the reason, and one of the reasons why I thought, and I will think that it was a good idea for Riddle to be paired with Ono to start with. Ono was brought back. You know, he had a short hiatus, right, from NXT, about, I'd say, maybe about 2 years now.
He went off and he became a hero for a little while.
Yes, and when he came back, I believe that he was brought back to be a locker room leader, like to help the talent adjust to WWE style, and I think he's embraced that role. And it was smart to put Riddle with him from the get-go because Chris Hero will be able to guide him, in these matches. We'll be able to work the style that WWE obviously wants Riddle to work, bring him, lean him in, while also be letting Riddle shine with his really strong offense. I don't know what you think. And while you're giving your answer, Chris, everyone in the chat, let us know who you think is going to win this first match.
Ooh, who do I think is going to win? Cassius Ohno, like you said, the locker room leader role, I aforementionedly said this. He reminds me of what Tyler Breeze was, and putting on these really big takeover matches and making the newest exciting superstar to come into NXT. It's very important. Cassius Ohno is that guy. Will he get a big takeover win? Unfortunately, has not been successful in takeover matches, and I just unfortunately see this streak continuing. Matt Riddle's a hot commodity right now. His undefeated streak is going to continue. I think a streak like that is needed to create the next batch of who's going to be a big-time player in the NXT general division later on, and Matt Riddle is going to be that guy. The character work is there. While you did say the WWE style is different, Matt Riddle knows how to make this bro character shine, from the flip-flops to the hair to the awesome hats. Shout out to Rant with Ant and Company, because I know they have had rocked a couple of their merchandise, and I respect any podcast able to get their product that much out there.
There you go. Okay. Okay, you were cutting out a bit. Yeah, you were cutting out a bit. Everything's cool now. So basically you think that Riddle is going to win, and I agree.
In a competitive, strike heavy matchup.
Yeah, for sure. It bears be mentioning. I'm a really big Cassius Ohno guy. I really like him. There's a part of this whole situation that makes me really happy that he actually has a program. That he has something going on, because really the last time he was involved in something was pretty much a year ago, when he was in his feud with Velveteen Dream, or if you want to call it a feud, it was mostly just one match.
It was just kind of a takeover match that nobody expected to happen, and we were all happy it did, but it was of course for the Dream's benefit. Yeah,
of course. And I mean, that's okay. Like I said, I think Ono's, that's his role, in NXT, and that's fine. I'm just glad he's getting some airtime and he got something to sink his teeth into. But Riddle's going to win, because Riddle is the future of the WWE. All right. And chat seems to agree with us. Danny, no Cassius Ohnos at all in the chat. It's going to be, it cannot be anything else but
it's really one-sided. I mean, where Cassius could be somewhere else on Sunday. How long is this role going to continue?
Oh, well, I mean, you could have an argument, how old is Cassius Ohno? He's getting up there, right? He's he's no spring chicken either. Let me just see here, Cassius Ohno. I'm going to pull up the information, because the point is that he let me see here. He was born in 1979, so that would make him 40. He's going to be 40 this year. He's 39 right now. So I mean, do you call up a guy from NXT who is 40 years old. You know what I mean? I mean, and this is not disrespectful. I don't want it to come across as disrespectful because
It's not.
because
It's
guys
not-
these days, I just want to hang on a sec because you're chopping up. Let me just make this point. Guys these days are having much longer careers than they've had at any other time in pro wrestling history. You have AJ Styles, who's over 40, and who is still performing at elite levels. You have guys like Minoru Suzuki in Japan, who's in his 50s. Chris Jericho as well. You know, these are all dudes who are still working at very top tier, high level, at a very top tier, high level, and who are still able to go. Cassius Ohno, I have no doubts that he still can, but let's say you're WWE and you want to bring people up into your main roster as new blood, new faces. You've got all sorts of new young kids coming in. You know, Velveteen Dream, man, he's in his early 20s. Do you bring up a guy who's in his 40s who might be in, whose career might be not necessarily wrapping up, but being a little shorter than some of the others that are waiting behind?
Well, as a big man, he can work a slower and stronger, slower style. So it's really all about what kind of rivalry he can find himself in, assuming that a call-up does happen.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you're right. I wonder about that kind of stuff. You know, it's if you're building, you know.
It's worth considering, but right now, just all the cards are in Matt Riddle's favor, and Cassius Ohno's playing his role well, and we're both talking fans of the guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as far as what he's doing right now, Cassius Ohno, I mean, there's nothing. I'm really happy. I just don't know if a call up is in the cards for him at this point, or if he'll transition into a trainer role at the PC. And anyone, he has that reputation, right, on the independent circuit for being someone who passes down information. He does have great ring sensibilities, ring knowledge. I mean, he's been doing that for over 20 years at this point. So I want to say hello to Blaine, who's just joined us in the chat.
Hello,
Blaine. All right, so we're going to move on to our second match of the evening. Then, Daniel.
Speaking of transitions.
What a segue. Second match of the evening, we're going to be talking about the NXT Tag Team titles on the line, the Undisputed Era, squaring off against the War Raiders. Did you watch Hanson? Did you watch Hanson and oh my goodness, Sarah Logan, their marriage? Did you watch that? Their Viking marriage?
I think it was Roe.
Roe, yeah, you're right. Sorry, not.
I think it was Roe and Sarah Logan.
Yes.
I saw the Instagram stuff, and I thought it was brilliant.
But did you see the video? Like, because they did a whole thing.
Cool.
And it was amazing. Like, everyone who went there, they were invited. They made their own costumes. You know, they had their own. It was amazing. Anyways, if you guys didn't see it yet, it's worth it.
The squad looked great.
Yes, absolutely. So, but there's nothing romantic about this match here. They're just gonna want the War Raiders are gonna want to take the titles off of the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong, who, in my opinion, were the absolute best tag team in the world in 2018. I don't think anyone matched their level of work or what they put into their matches. They had nothing but extraordinary fights with bringing up teams that you never thought would be able to deliver or give us something fantastic. I honestly do not think we had a better tag team in all of 2018 other than O'Reilly and Strong.
I mention this as often as I possibly can because to this day, and we've seen O'Reilly and Strong team together a number of times by now, but the veteran tag team presence in the Undisputed Era belongs to Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly as the Red Dragon, as we know them. And it still surprises me how easily Roderick Strong was able to carry this tag team expertise.
Well, carry.
Not maintain a tag team expertise presence in the Undisputed Era as he did. And he earned his right to do so by being that man to not just, well, to quite frankly secure those titles for the era. Let's not forget the Dusty Rhodes Classic.
That's coming up.
Well, the last one either.
Oh, well, the last one as well. But yes, and but you're absolutely right. And I think it's a story. It's a I think you've really nailed something as far as the story of Strong replacing Fish and O'Reilly and Strong being able to compete on such a high level and having such fantastic chemistry with each other. I think it's an underappreciated story. But nonetheless, they lost the titles last year. Let's not forget for the time.
They are 2-time.
Yeah, they did lose, but like for like a month. They had a spectacular match of the year to gain them back against Mustache Mountain on NXT television. The War Raiders. What's that?
The 5-star at Full Sail.
No, I mean, that was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And then the War Raiders, they came in to a lot of hoopla. And with reason, because they're a fantastic tag team in their own right. These guys are absolutely phenomenal. But I want to hear what you think about this, Danny. Do you feel that we got to see the full extent of War Raiders in NXT?
I don't think we've seen that yet. The aptly named War Games match was a very good show for them. It was a very good match. They were successful with the team of Pete Dunne and Ricochet, North American and WWE UK champions at their side against the very whole entire team of the Dude Crew of the Undisputed Era. So yes, we've seen just enough of the War Raiders to know what they're going to bring to the Undisputed Era. But this is something that the Undisputed Era is very used to. Mm-hmm. And I covered this a little bit. Earlier this month, Heavy Machinery versus Undisputed Era. Another big man team. Successful title defense. Going back a little bit further, Authors of Pain. Another successful title win and defense. And they know how to work these big man teams. This is nothing new for the era. It's not gonna slow them down. It's a new breed when it comes to the War Raiders. They're a hybrid team. They're they're possibly stronger big men.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're more ruthless than Akam and Razor were in NXT, but they're faster and they're bringing new things to the table that they haven't seen out of bigger teams before. And that's going to be the biggest factor in the War Raiders versus Undisputed Era, is this new kind of offense coming from guys this size against two guys, well, Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. They're not exactly the Vince McMahon build.
No, that's very well put. Well, I mean, what do you think? Because I agree. Right now, we haven't seen much of what the War Raiders can do. I'm familiar with their work outside of NXT, which is why I speak very fondly of them, because I have seen them tear shit up. But as it stands right now in NXT, I'm kind of surprised that they're going to the well so quickly and putting this inevitable match, of War Raiders and Undisputed Era so quickly in there. Chat, let us know who you think is going to win this one. If you're going to ask me, Danny, do you want to ask me?
I am going to ask you. Who do we got? Harry Hance and Reckless Row, or the Dude Crew? Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong.
I think the lads are going to retain, and I'm going to tell you why. There's Steve in the chat here who says, and this is not Steve, sorry, Jason in the chat, who said 2019 is all about Undisputed Era being draped in gold. No way War Raiders of the Lost Ark win. But I agree, and I think that I would be very, very pleased to see Undisputed Era with all the belts again. I think it works well for them and it's credible. But mostly, I also think that that there's much more interest, dare I say money, in keeping the Undisputed Era champions right into the Dusty Classic this year and then have them lose the titles. I think it's too soon. I think the War Raiders are destined to be NXT Tag Team Champions. I think that's written in stone, with Viking runes.
It's chiseled.
But they're going to chase the belts a little more. It's not their time right now. We need to build them proper as monsters, and I think the Dusty Classic will be the place to do that. What do you think? Who do you got?
Carrying through the Dusty Classic for the War Raiders is a very good idea. I do. I haven't thought of that, but I have thought about them chasing. Let's not forget that the story right now is a post-War Games injury on the War Raiders, which is why we haven't seen them, which is even more surprising why they're able to just jump up and run roughshod right into a tag team title shot.
Yeah.
The rivalry with William Regal is not going to be very kind to the Undisputed Era, but there's not going to be a damn thing that William Regal can do while they retain the titles, whether that be by hook or by crook. But I agree. I wouldn't have worn the hat if I didn't agree. Undisputed Era, they're going to carry that gold, man. I do agree that draped in gold is kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how and when it happens. I think Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream, if I can segue for another segment of the Undisputed Era for a moment, is going to be a brilliant rivalry in the North American Championship eyes.
I'd love that.
Titles belong to Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly, and that, YouTube, is undisputed.
You know, I was about to call you a what I was about when you showed your hat. I was about to call you a Mark, but here I am with my Johnny Gargano hat. So I got no credibility here. But you know what? Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream? Are you kidding me? It's a charisma orgasm, man.
Clash.
Woo! I'm getting hot just thinking about it. Hey boy. All right. Let's Danny talk. What's the next match? What are we doing?
Let's move on. We're moving on up, and we're moving on way up into the skies.
Oh God!
I'm talking about Ricochet. I'm talking about the North American champion taking on. Can I still say it? Can I still say Johnny Wrestling? I'm gonna say Johnny Wrestling. Johnny Wrestling. Johnny Gargano. Johnny possessed by a Venom symbiote. However you want to put him. This new attitude of Johnny Gargano wants a title reign, and he's pretty much flat out promised that he's going to get it through any means necessary. And Warren, he means any means necessary. There's compromise between him and the current NXT champion right now in this whole let's assault our respective opponents parallel to each other. Like, what has gotten inside the head of Johnny Gargano? What has led him to this point in wanting to just super kick and blindside Ricochet, a man he should ideally have sportsmanship, whether that be in a competitive nature is one thing. But what's up right now?
Listen, you know, who knows right now Johnny Gargano he's confused. He's in an identity crisis. He's still looking for a purpose, which is why he's turning to Tommaso Ciampa. Like, what the fuck? I mean, why is he doing that? You know, no one believes it, but we all want it. We want dark DIY. We just want it. We want the D in DIY to stand for dark. That's what we want now. Listen, as far as this match goes, holy hell. I've said it before. I was on the Speeds and the Benchmark show last night, doing predictions over on their side. They had me on. Great podcast, by the way. Everyone should subscribe. Speeds and the Benchmark show. And I'm going to say exactly what I said last night. I do not give a crap about the result of this match. This is going to be spectacular.
Match of the weekend.
We've got a match of the year on our hands. I'm convinced about it. This one is going to just blow everyone's mind because you literally have two guys who can work on the same level. Two are workhorses. Johnny Gargano, arguably, there's a very good argument to be made, the best worker in the entire company, not just NXT. The best worker in the company. He's had nothing but stellar fights all throughout 2018. Nothing bad, nothing even average. It's all good, even great, and higher. And
let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back.
Almost a year to the day. NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas for the NXT Championship.
About a year ago. You're absolutely right.
Fortunate enough to be in the building for that one. I think Johnny can repeat history with another Match of the Year competitor in January for the North American Championship. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it'd be very poetic in a certain way if he starts off 2019 with another 5-star as slappity slapper with Ricochet, and we know they'll be able. And Ricochet, here's another guy who's had really great matches as well, but it's not the guy we saw in PWG. It's not even Prince Puma for that matter. You know what I mean? He hasn't turned it on full throttle yet. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, everyone, I'm not saying that he's been bad, not saying he's been boring, but when you've seen his stuff, what he's capable of doing, his NXT presence right now hasn't been full throttle Ricochet. And if he turns on the valves this weekend, holy hell, we are in for a treat.
I think it's going to be a long match. I think it's going to be a very fast-paced match, and we're going to see some impressive stuff. And this is going to be the match to really take Ricochet's North American Championship into the next stratosphere.
Chat, let us know who you think is going to come out on top here. We've got already people singing. Yes, I'm sure some people are singing. We've got Sports and Things shows. Who agrees? He says, Match of the Year contender Gargano wins, leading to heel DIY. I think what if I read what you just said, Danny, properly, I think you just implied that Ricochet is going to retain. Did I get that right?
Kind of unintentionally gave my prediction there without full reasoning, and I'm not like you said. It's not like I particularly care about the match. I'm watching this as a wrestling fan, and we all know what the spectacle it's going to be. Every single takeover, my favorite word to describe them, is a spectacle. This match will be no exception. Ricochet does retain because I really think that championship is something special. It's going to add to not just his in-ring appeal, but that overall star power that we know that WWE is going to want from a guy that can go in the ring and has the same. Ricochet's got that good look to him.
Oh yeah.
Too. We really just got to piece it together as that superstar tools, and I think that North American Championship is going to help that. I think a nice, healthy role with that title is going to do nothing but elevate him, and I think Johnny Gargano's history with Tommaso Ciampa isn't over either. But a dark DIY with both of them having singles titles in NXT is not something to be overlooked. To give a shout out to our friend Sports and Things comments.
I really do believe that Johnny Gargano is going to win. And I think this is going to be the bond that is going to bring Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano back together. You can already see Ciampa in 2 weeks on NXT television coming into the ring and calling out his buddy Johnny, saying, you've grown so much. I've molded you into this kind of thing, We're back. We're back on top. Calling back to the when DIY started, crawling and scratching our way. We did it together. We did it apart. Kind of thing. I think it'd all fall perfectly into place for Ciampa. It'd be one of his most disgustingly correct promos. There's nothing better than a heel who's right, you know? And he'd be so spot on, you know, going down that road. And in chat here, you know, there's some people who say Johnny's going to take it. A couple of, you know, we have Jason, who makes a very good point here, saying, I think Ricochet retains. Not a knock on him, but he needs to be holding the title a little bit more than Johnny. And gosh darn it, Danny, even though I feel like Johnny should win, what Jason just said here, it holds there's some credence to it. He's not entirely, he's kind of right.
I like to think that's a little bit of agreeing with what I said. I think Ricochet needs the title a little bit more. I think Johnny Gargano just has a little bit of unfinished business. I think that in the event Johnny Gargano wins, I'll eat crow, and I'll be the first to sit down and watch that resulting Tommaso Ciampa promo from it, because we know that if Johnny wins a championship, Tommaso Ciampa is going to take credit like he's holding 2 titles.
Oh my God, it's going to be. I think that's why I want Johnny to win, because I want that promo. I want Ciampa to be in full-blown greasy gloating mode. That's what I want.
It'll also be the first time former NXT Tag Team Champions have held singles division titles together in NXT. That just kind of speaks to the kind of people that Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa are, one being pro wrestler and one decreeing himself as the greatest sports entertainer of our generation.
It's going to be fun, but like I said, like ultimately, you know, we're like I said at first, we're talking about the results because it's fun, but I'm just thrilled we're getting this match. This is going to be,
it's going to be a blessing.
Oh man, what a time to be a wrestling fan. Let's be frank. Well, you be Danny, I'll be Warren, and we'll move on. All right,
we'll be wrestling fans together.
Yeah, there you go. And speaking of
fans,
what's that?
We'll be the biggest fans in a.
I thought you said we're going to be the big assed fans. And I was like, what are you talking about, Danny? All right. Women's NXT Women's Championship. Oh, goodness. Shayna Baszler, NXT Women's Champion, defending against Bianca Belair, who is, as she enjoys repeating, is undefeated.
How many syllables?
6.
Gotcha.
I was never good at math. Yeah, so listen, 2018 is Bianca Belair's coming out party. This was the year that it's one thing to win the NXT title, but it's another thing to just outshine and outgrow everyone else who was even remotely close to being a competitor in regards to her championship, a challenger. She was spectacular. And I remember very clearly at the start of 2018 when she was entered in her program with Ember Moon. And I thought her promos were fantastic. I thought she was starting off a very interesting character, something that we weren't used to seeing in women's competitors in WWE. And she matched it up in the ring with a very grounded style, very grappling oriented, of course, MMA background, so on and so forth. But as when you think about how, explosive, very high flying women's wrestling in WWE was, Danny, Shayna was a complete polar opposite as to what we were used to seeing up until that point.
And she had that direct opposite in her most famous opponent, I feel, in this case, Kairi Sane. I love that Kairi and Shayna rivalry. We got to see a whole nother side from Kairi. And we get to see a TakeOver debut of an undefeated superstar And we get to see an undefeated superstar compete for the NXT Women's Championship again. The last time we were able to see this was Bayley versus Asuka for the NXT Women's Championship. So another undefeated streak versus the first ever two-time NXT Women's Champion.
Yep, and that's something in and about itself. And Shayna, what's also fantastic about her is the way that she wrestles is extremely credible. Like, she looks like a fighter, she acts like a fighter. The way she conducts herself in the ring, and she's just improved, man. She just she exploded not only in her character but in her in-ring work. She's just been fantastic throughout all of 2018.
She played that bully heel to the absolute T. As much of a coming out year in the underscore of the division as it was, 2018 highlighted what a credible champion Shayna Baszler is. And it did it twice.
Yeah.
Did it twice against a bunch of good opponents. It's able to introduce Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke as another outside muscle. It's all really piecing together for what Shayna Baszler is, and that's the queen of an army right now that can hold her own ground. And
that's true.
Let's face it, she has a very good opponent in Bianca Belair right now. I like what you said about her development as well. She reminds me about the confidence shining through that we first saw in the boss, Sasha Banks.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's getting we're rooting for that confidence, that superstar. I know how good I am. You guys can accept that. And a lot of us have. I've definitely gotten behind Bianca Belair. I feel like her and Lacey Evans between 2017, 2018, two of my most improved women's superstars by far.
Let's talk a little more about Bianca. She started at she debuted at the Mae Young Classic 2 years ago. Everyone was very, very impressed with her strength, just her brute strength, her natural abilities. But, she did come, and I mean, it's normal. She came across as very green, but, she was starting, right? That she hadn't been wrestling for long at that point, if any at all. I don't quite remember.
She was an accomplished athlete. But
yes.
She's a performance center product as far as pure wrestling is concerned. She's a track and field star. I know there was a couple other things, but the conditioning and the strength training with Bianca Belair was there, but the pro wrestling influence is strictly performance center grown.
And you see, when I was talking about Shayna Baszler having a very different style from the Baileys and Sashas and Charlottes when they were all in NXT, and even Ember Moon, Nikki Cross, they all had very different styles, or they all had similar styles. I mean, very explosive, fast-paced. In many cases, going up top on the turnbuckles, doing some aerial moves. Bianca's very grounded as well. Like, she's very much akin to Shayna, depending on, a very grounded, strength-based moveset. Obviously, she's physically stronger than Shayna, but, they're two very different styles to what we're used to, and Bianca's grown into this. Now she's finally having her chance at the title. Is it going to happen?
I think I don't know. I mean, stylistically, Bianca Belair is probably as similar or comparative an opponent than Shayna Baszler has had. Ember Moon, very explosive. Kairi Sane, very quick. Both top rope competitors, but this is going to be brute strength against Shayna's submission and tacticianship. And I think that experience alone, just her general combat sports experience in general, I think that's going to shine through. I think one tiny little misstep or one little bit of getting carried away can and will cost Bianca Belair. I don't think Shayna Baszler's second NXT Women's Championship reign ends quite yet. I think we see the streak end before we see Shayna's second title reign done.
Yeah, let us know, chat, what you think. But I'm in agreement with Daniel Mac here. I don't see Shayna losing the belt here. I would give them a bit of a program. Start something off. And what I'm looking forward to most here, Danny, is Bianca Belair finally being put in a high-stakes match center stage, like not lost somewhere in on an NXT TV card,
Right.
not in a fatal 4-way, like one-on-one with the champ at a takeover. I am really looking forward to see how she performs in this situation, because this is a woman that I don't think we have seen really what she's capable of. And takeovers, man, they're the moment that you have to bring it all out.
I mean, TakeOver is going to be make or break in a real sense for the kind of star power that Bianca Belair is able to project. And she's very good at it. It won't be her first time in front of a TakeOver-sized audience, though. I was fortunate to see her versus Deonna Purrazzo at the Barclays Center.
Yeah.
So she has competed against a sizable crowd before, but not with championship stakes, not with an opponent as dangerous as Shayna Baszler, and I say that with all the credit in the world to the virtuosa. But Shayna Baszler has a little bit more of that ruthless submission style than the Fujiwara armbar master.
I'm gonna tell you something, Danny. I deserve something. I deserve a good match out of these two women. That's what I deserve.
You deserve?
I deserve it. We got one match left, Daniel. What is it? What's happening?
We have an event. We have a rematch. We have an almost infamous match, and it's the NXT Championship match.
Yes.
Aleister Black versus Tommaso Ciampa, accompanied to the ring by Goldie.
Have you noticed, Dan?
That title has anybody else nicknamed it. You got to call it what it is.
I think from this point on, if no one else ever calls it Goldie again, it's going to be it's much to the discredit of the belt. Have you noticed? I've mentioned this before on Twitter, and I think I've even talked about it on the show as well. But when Ciampa, when he's holding the belt, when he's looking at the belt, he never looks at the title, at the faceplate. He looks at the nameplates. Have you noticed this? When he kisses the belt, he always kisses the nameplates, never the belt itself. And he goes in the ring and he lifts it up high. And when he looks at it, like you have the you have the belt is draping down, and you see him holding the belt, but he's looking at the nameplates. He's always looking at himself.
It's the definition of mine and my precious and all that obsession.
Narcissism.
Very, very good SAT word for this segment. Shout out to the...
I went to college, kids. I went to college. You could learn names like me. Stay in school. Come on.
Yes, the obsessive narcissism, and I love the nameplate's point. I do remember that tweet. I remember kind of subtly acknowledging it, I guess, but the reflection in Tommaso Ciampa's eyes when it comes to the reflection of him on that title, it's an obsession.
Yeah.
It's anything to keep it.
Yeah.
But Aleister Black is anything to take it away from him.
Yeah.
Aleister Black has been poised and waiting and wanting a decisive match, not something tainted by an outside interference with that's where this whole rivalry is so damn confusing. Johnny Gargano was such a catalyst in the last NXT Championship match between Aleister Black and Tommaso Ciampa. Kind of the whole thing wondering in my head is, where is it going from here? Especially with how this past week's episode of NXT ended. Yeah. There was almost that handshake. Where do these two men lie in respects to each other's title opportunities? That's something to keep in the back of your mind while watching either of those two matches on the NXT TakeOver card. Well,
there's a lot of people who say, that have been going around Twitter and chit-chatting and stuff and saying, Ciampa's is going to retain and Gargano's going to interfere. But NXT, man, they don't like tossing in interference into their main titles on takeovers. It doesn't happen very often that there's going to be outside interference, at least not since the past couple of years, 2 to 3 years, I'd say, when ever since takeovers have become legendary events. it doesn't happen. You know?
I'm trying to think of the last time somebody would have a sort of alliance to break or involve themselves in a title match. And you think of some of the best NXT Championship rivalries, they were such single-star players. The Finn Balor's, the Shinsuke Nakamura's, the Samoa Joe's. These are guys who never really interacted with each other before getting their title opportunities.
Yeah, and I think the last time... And I mean, even the last time, and chat, by the way, chat, this is where you guys come in. If you guys think of something, this is your moment to shine and tell us, you dumb bastards, there was this moment. But, okay, I got one too, and then over to you. But I think the last time someone that interfered was last year after Gargano lost to Almas, the return of Ciampa. But then again, the match was finished. We had cut to credits, and that's when Ciampa attacked. Like, it wasn't even during the match. You know what I mean? But go ahead with your example.
Yeah, post-match assaults have happened with former partners or guys we know as friends, or even just debuts. Remember how the Undisputed Era took over Brooklyn right after Drew McIntyre won the title. Let's not forget the alliance of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens broken amidst an NXT championship.
That's true. That's true.
So that's probably the biggest dynamic that's even slightly comparable to this DIY saga, but DIY, this whole story as a whole, stands on its own. And it's just it's in a different league, and it's not the first or last time I've had this conversation with you. It's my favorite rivalry and story in pro wrestling.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right there. Chat is being very silent, so I think we're right, Danny. I think we're right.
Drop a little thumbs up or agree or some sort of positive emoji. Or
press F if you agree. Press F to agree. And let's talk about Aleister Black for a second here. As you mentioned, he's held the title before, trying to become a two-time champion. But his initial reign, man, what a snoozer. If we're being frank.
Ideal. It wasn't ideal. It didn't. I don't know how you highlight a mystique of your main event champion, but if that makes any sense, I feel like that's kind of the vibe it should have had. I feel like there was something missing in that Black first title run, and it's not because of matches. It's not because of unworthy opponents.
No.
It's just kind of one of the things where he had it, and then before you know it, some dramatic factor happens, and then he didn't have it. And then we have the incredible story that turned lemons into lemonade and Nikki Cross into a freaking genius of who attacked Aleister Black in the parking lot, which we now know was one Johnny Gargano. One of the reasons... There we go. One of the reasons I think that Aleister's title reign was so underwhelming, I think that what it did is that it destroyed his mystique, because up until he won the title, Aleister Black barely spoke. You know, his entire feud with Velveteen Dream was just about saying Dream wanting him to say his name. That was it. Now he's champ. He comes to the ring and he's not in his vests. He's not bearing his tattoos. He doesn't rise up. He comes to the ring in a suit. He's looking dapper. Those suits are well tailored. He's a fine looking man. That's not the point. But it's not Aleister Black. And he grabs the mic. What's that? I think the Dutch make good suits. I think Aleister Black in good tailor territory.
There you. But the idea that he comes to the ring, grabs a mic, and cuts promos, well, that's something. But his promos were so average and felt so out of character for him. Like, it wasn't. He was talking like he was a pro wrestler, but he's not a pro wrestler. He's Aleister Black. His mystique goes beyond just guy who comes to the ring and fights people. He's like, oh my God, there's a presence. So right now, the promos that he's been cutting ever since coming back have been mwah, cordon bleu level promos. They've been like, it's kind of, extra butter sauce on top of everything. What's that?
It's been A1. Aleister Black, he's come back. That's a lot of it has to do with that presence. That's the perfect way, because that presence looming while the promo's going on the television, where is the actual physical Aleister Black?
Yeah.
What mind games is he playing here just so he could physically attack you here? And that's the kind of character Aleister Black needs to be. That's the kind of champion I think he should have been. I think he should have waited for an opponent to call him out first and then say, just be that fighting champion, and honestly just not take any crap said to him, but not really having to respond verbally, but let the physical acts do all the talking. And that's definitely the best when it comes to Dutch Destroyer.
And it's just the small things. One of the greatest moments that that NXT TV provided to me this year was that moment when he returned, and Nikki Cross was freaking out, and he was in the ring. He appeared in the ring, sitting down, and he just like got, he gestured over to Nikki Cross, like, come here, right? And she was like in a trance, and she just came over. Not only was it just in those small gestures, like it was the presence, it was the aura, it was the master who was back. And I got to tell you at the same time, Danny, I'm not going to lie. It kind of I know what, hang on. Give you I'm going to be honest with you. The whole thing with the hand gestures and everything, I'm going to be honest, it kind of turned me on.
He's like you said, dapper suited up. I mean,
but he didn't have his suit. He was dressed.
Aleister Black got that pull about him, though. I guess. But, going off from that, just the turnaround, the calmly summoning Nikki Cross, and then once he found out who it was and what exactly went down, and flipped that switch, that said a lot more than his full-on droned out promos.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's it.
But the comeback ones have been very good. The psychological attack he's trying to place on Tommaso Ciampa, and the facts that you should fear Aleister Black, and how badly he wants this tainted title reign of Tommaso Ciampa to end, because it was at the cost of him. Aleister Black has a lot of redemption in this matchup. He's been waiting for it for a long time. He went through one half of DIY and absolved him of his sins. But will he take the title away from Tommaso Ciampa?
That's the big question. So, chat, let us know, who do you think is going to win the main event? Is Tommaso Ciampa retaining? Is he winning? Or are we leaving Phoenix with the new champion? Danny, I want your thoughts on this. Who do you think is going to win?
I want to feed off of one thing that you said, and it's two important words. Main event. Main event. Aleister Black.
Those are two words.
Not in the main event match while he was champion. I have a feeling that also contributed to your aforementioned points about his reign of little bit of under was on Tommaso Ciampa and was on the DIY rivalry. And I'm trying to talk slow to make sure that my connection is keeping up before I give my prediction.
Yeah, we're good. We're doing good.
I'm not sure if it's selfish because I want to see him continue to kick people's heads off outside of Tommaso Ciampa, and I want to see Johnny Gargano be that one to finally end this thing. But I don't think Goldie's going anywhere. I think by hook or by crook or by some nefarious means, one of our favorite sayings when we do this show, my friend, by nefarious means. Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
That's what my gut feeling is. I don't think that fifth longest NXT championship reign is ending yet.
I think that Ciampa is retaining as well. I really do. And but you see, I don't think it's going to be by nefarious means. I just think he's gonna be, because the thing is that Ciampa, regardless, through thick and thin, he's proven to be nonetheless worthy of the belt. Like, he won the belt because of Johnny Gargano. It wasn't even his fault that it was a screwy finish. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and pin the dude, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, man, my heart wants it to be, my heart wants it to be Aleister Black, but it makes much more sense to keep it on Ciampa. Ciampa's too good, and I think Aleister is destined to be gone, unfortunately, at this point. I'd like all my NXT boys and girls right now to stay where they are and live forever in NXT and be happy. I'm terrified of Aleister Black going up on main, but I really think that his time has come. Okay.
I think when that does happen.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately you are correct. And to add to your point, he won the title because of Johnny Gargano. But looking at that Velveteen Dream match, he didn't keep the title because of Johnny Gargano.
No, exactly.
He was able to put away his own victory, and he has been able to retain through hook or by crook or just the outright whatever goes on up here when it comes to the Psycho Killer.
In the chat, most people think that Ciampa is going to retain. Jason says he won't be disappointed with either outcome, but he thinks Aleister is going to win. Ciampa and Gargano both without belts can continue their storyline, which is true.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Kristen says that Ciampa will retain, and I'll be annoyed. Stop kissing inanimate objects, Ciampa. Oh, she's so sassy. So we're gonna wrap this up, and just to wrap it up, just a little something fun. Royal Rumble is on Sunday. You know, yeah, our thing isn't necessarily main roster, but one of the fun things about the Royal Rumble are surprise entrants. Those are always fun, and there's a history of NXT guys and gals appearing in the Royal Rumble matches. If we're talking about the women's Royal Rumble, do you see any NXT, not necessarily a call-up, just a pop-in? You know, we've seen, just last year, Andrade Cien Almas was in it, Adam Cole. Do you see any of the women popping in this year?
I think based on her success and just her history in Royal Rumbles and main roster battle royales, I think that Bianca Belair has a really good shot of working twice this weekend. I think Io Shirai would be a very popular choice for the women's Royal Rumble, able to kind of highlight a high-flying and dynamic style during that match is hard to do, and I think Io Shirai would be a very good pick for that. I think Candice LeRae, maybe test her waters of popularity, Rumble opportunist, and I think as far as the men's match goes...
Oh, hang on. I want to... Hey. Hang on a second there. I want to talk about women, too.
Both at once. Let's focus on women's wrestling. Shout out to Diva Dirt again.
Oh, well done. Well done. Chad, by the way, let us know who you think might pop up for the Women's Royal Rumble. I'm angling for... Look, Shayna Baszler. I think... It's practically a given, you know. Who at this time last year was it? Well, she was champion. No, it was Ember Moon, and Ember Moon was in the she was in the Rumble last year.
Ember Moon got her shot too.
I wouldn't see why they wouldn't go back again with the women's title, women's champion. I don't see why they wouldn't bring it back again this year. And I'd even extend over to NXT UK. I think they're bringing in Rhea Ripley too. They really like her.
Rhea Ripley's a good choice. I think Toni Storm is the more popular choice for.
Yeah, but Rhea Ripley's fantastic.
Of NXT as a whole, women's champions entering the Royal Rumble, I think that both of them might as well. Make an appearance between Storm and Shayna, respectively. I think Shayna is a very good pick. I think that it could add a lot of credibility to her as a champion to get a couple of main roster eliminations.
In the chat, we have people saying Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm. We've got Blaine who's calling for Io and Kairi. Kyrie, who was in the Rumble last year, if I'm not mistaken, as well, who hit the insane elbow. Not a good idea to do top rope moves during a battle royal, but hey, it worked out for her. Good for her. Let's talk about the men.
High flying stuff. That's exactly what I thought with Io. Kyrie was able to do it last year. I think Io will get the chance to do it this year. I think Rhea Ripley is another good choice. If he's another one who's made strides in improvement.
Let's talk about the men. Who do you have? Who do you think? Go right ahead, Danny.
I think the ovation is inevitable. I think it's a very good choice. I think we finally see a spotlight on Velveteen Dream this weekend. Very, very hurt that he doesn't have a TakeOver match. I think the Dream in the Rumble, and quite frankly, as predictable as this might be, just like Ty Dillinger entering at number 10, I want to see EC3 at number 3.
But he's not NXT anymore, though. Like, he's officially main roster.
I know, but still, as far as like a debut goes, his been a little bit of backstage presence. I want to see an in-ring main roster debut of EC3 in the Royal Rumble.
Okay, well, and that makes sense, and I 100% agree with you. What's that?
Let's call that half a prediction then, because he is technically already up there.
A 0.5 prediction. I think that you're absolutely right. That Velveteen Dream is a shoo-in for a surprise. And I'm even going to add on to this. You're absolutely right. He doesn't have a match at Phoenix, but they're flying him in. He's doing the Worlds Collide tournament thing that they have going. That's the Access show with 205 Live, NXT UK, and NXT. They're bringing Velveteen Dream in for that. You can trust me. They're not just bringing him in to do that little tournament thing. Not have him have a match at Phoenix. TakeOver, I mean. He's going to be in the Rumble the next day. And I also think they're going to call it. I think they're going to fly in Pete Dunne. I really do. Your longest tenured modern day champion. The NXT UK brand off of Momentum, off of Blackpool. Are you kidding me? It just makes sense.
600 plus days.
610 plus.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Absolutely incredible. And special shout out to NXT.
Yes, definitely.
Table also. That was
in the chat we have Blaine who's talking about Walter, which would be all sorts of chopping. I think my eyes would start bleeding with all the chops to all those people. Pete Dunne, Matt Riddle as well.
Ooh, good pick.
That's a good pick. And Jason also talked about Pete Dunne. And Kevin says, I think I'm going to be in the Rumble. So why not? Kevin, if you're there.
You just decree yourself in the Royal Rumble now? If I send out a tweet saying I'm in the Royal Rumble, doesn't that count?
Yeah, you have to be there. That's how it works now. Danny, this was a lot of fun. I want you to let everyone know out there watching and listening where they can find you on the never-ending abyss that is the internet.
I want to give a special shout out to all the content creators that I'm fortunate enough to interact with on Twitter, like yourself, and our whole little wrestling group. The crew is there. A special shout out to anybody watching here on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the support, not just to the Warren Hayes Show, but for giving my voice a shot as well. Follow the show on Twitter at podcast_UF. I try and do spoiler-free live tweeting WWE NXT. I do not read the tapings. I don't believe in it. I like to watch things organically play out just like the average fan does, and I'm going to try and be a lot more consistent with my work. Give at Undisputed Future Podcast, all one word, a follow on the Instagram for wrestling memes and pictures of Colin the Velveteen Dog. Yeah, look me up on Facebook. SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Castbox.fm, Amazon Alexa apps. I think I'm on. Basically, anywhere you could find my RSS feed, your preferable device, however you're doing it. Thank you so much for giving it a shot.
So basically, I could open up an Alexa and say, Alexa, let me hear Danny Mac's voice, and then she'll like.
I think there's some sort of podcast skill related to it. I still have to master it myself. All I know is that the RSS feed is up there somewhere, and it gets shot out. It's fine.
I was, I'm very glad. It's cool that people can do that now with Alexa. And by the way, Kristen Ashley in the chat pointed out that Kevin is not entering the Royal Rumble, but he's going to be covering the Rumble for Diva Dirt. He's going to be on location for awesome. Diva Dirt. So there you go. That's why. That's why. So there you go. And you guys all know where you can find me. You can find me right here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. I have the podcasts on every podcast platform imaginable, and even those that haven't been imagined yet. It's already there. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes. Danny, I want to thank you once again for joining me this time, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
And
Big Four pay-per-views are not the same without a TakeOver weekend. I hope everybody enjoys the show. Keep up with the discussion with Warren and myself, and I hope everybody stays safe and has an excellent weekend.
Absolutely. And for those of you who want to see more of me, I'm going to be joining the crew over at Fightful tomorrow. Alex Pulowski and some other guy named Sean. We're going to be over...
That Sap fellow is very good. Let's give him a special
That Sap fellow. Yes. Let's give him a bit of love. Press F for Sean Ross Sapp. I'm going to be joining him, both of those guys, tomorrow after TakeOver for the post show over on Fightful.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat. I want to thank all of you listening, watching right now. And it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure, Danny. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time.